This video comes with a lot of backstory, and I really think the backstory and the details are what made this hunt interesting. However, if you want to skip all the jibber jabber and just get right to the shooting, then skip to right here in the video. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the story. 3 nights prior, Ben and I were on a property of a landowner that has multiple tracts of land, and we came across this group of hogs. Actually, there were 2 groups of hogs. We only addressed this group. The other group of hogs was across the creek. We didn't have a really good outcome with this group of hogs, so I thought I would return and maybe get a second chance either at this group or maybe the other group of hogs that was across the creek. But when I arrived on property, I discovered that there were workmen fertilizing and spraying the field with herbicides, and while they said that the herbicide was not dangerous, they suggested that I go across the road to the other tract of land where they had noted a lot of rooting and damage by hogs when they had worked there on the previous day. So I head over to the back hayfield where they indicate, and sure enough, there's rooting all over the place. And looking at the rooting, some of the rooting appears to have happened a couple days prior. Some of it had been rained on. And then there was stuff that looked like it had happened that morning. So obviously this is a place where the hogs were returning time and time again. And I set up right next to the main patch of rooting. Now, I know I've mentioned several times in previous videos how I like to use my InfiRay Finder from Tech Savvy Optics that I mount on top of my truck, and I put it on a little pan tilt motor, and I sit inside my truck and I just let the thermal spin around and around, scanning my surroundings. This works so well because hogs don't really care if they see a new truck in the field. If it's not doing something to disturb them, if they can't smell human activity or whatever, they don't care and they just ignore it, and so I'm actually safe inside this truck. It's a nice little blind, and the fact that it's new means absolutely nothing to the hogs. Well, the hogs have come in. They're over the hill from where I am, and I'm watching cows walk in front of them. It's still a little bit light outside, so I'm going to wait till it gets a little bit darker before making my advance towards them. Carpesus. As you can hear, the wind noise was pretty hellacious, so I'm going to go ahead and turn down the audio in this part of the video. The winds were blowing from left to right at about 18 miles an hour or more as the hogs were coming in. As you can see, this group of hogs is being led by a small boar, which I found really interesting. He led them almost across the entire field during the course of the evening. It is still somewhat daylight at this point. The sun has gone down, but I can see with my naked eyes across the field to what looks like to be a large mass, dark mass moving across the field. And so I wanted them to get by me, and then I was going to come in from downwind of them to make my approach. Now here they've passed by me, and I've got the wind more or less in my face, and then the 2 closest hogs take off running, and I don't know why. I think they're spooked by me, but no, cattle are chasing them. And they chased away the hogs. And that was as close as I ever got to them, and I didn't want to try any longer distance shots in the high winds, and so my goal was to return the next night. So this is what it looked like. Here I'm set up in the field. The green circle is where the majority of the rooting is going on. The field itself is quite large. As I'm showing, it's about 820 yards wide. The hogs are going to come in from the west. They're going to come towards the truck. I get out of the truck. I come towards the hogs. The cattle chase the hogs, and eventually the hogs move off property. So here I am set up in the rooting for the next night, closer to where the hogs came out. So I'm in the truck. There's some cattle in the field this time. The hogs come out, move a different direction. I get out of the truck, and I moved in order to get a better shot angle on the hogs before the shooting starts. I was happy to see the hogs making another appearance just like they did the previous night. The only difference is they've come out about 30 minutes earlier, and I suspect that is because we have storms coming in and dark clouds have blotted out the entire sunset. I can see the storm front as it's crossing over my position. And the hogs are marshaling where they marshaled on the previous night, and I'm going to expect them to start heading out into the field as they did the previous night, which looks like what's going on right here. Look ahead, there's no cattle in the foreground. I'm thinking I'm going to be marching out and taking a shot on the hogs as they come into the rooting area. But instead, they start heading off to the right to this water tank. So I think they're going to get a drink of water. Not really. They bypass the water tank. And if I'm not careful, they're going to be moving into a downwind position from me, and I don't want that. So at this point, I'm figuring if the hogs keep moving off to the right, I'm going to have to move off to the right with them. And while they're waiting to decide what to do, I'll talk about the gear that I'll be using for the night. And I'm getting video with my bearing optic Super Yoter LRF. And it's mounted on top of a Lone Star Armory TX15 multi-purpose carbine enhance and 6.5 Grendel. And I'm going to be shooting some Federal Speer TNT bullets loaded by drilled tail armory into Starline brass. Now, I've told some of y'all that I'd be shooting some Sierra Game Kings, and I did not have time to get those sighted in. Here, I've sped up the video quite a bit as the hogs are slowly making their way off to the right. Now, I'm not advancing on the hogs at this point because of the wind, which is not very high. It's actually calming down as the storm front's moving in. And it's actually getting quite quiet. I can hear the hogs quite well. But also, it's still light enough that I can spot the hogs with my naked eyes, and I know that hogs have better night vision than I have. And so if I'm walking up on the hogs, they're going to be apt to see me, and I don't want that because then they'll just disappear into the woods behind them, and I won't ever get a shot opportunity. I also have to be wary of the fact that as the hogs are moving off to the right, they're getting into some cattle that are behind them at one of the hay rings that's back in the distance, back in the woods. And I don't want to be shooting towards the cattle, so I need to move into a position to keep my angle on the hogs such that when I take my shots, the cattle are not directly behind them. So this is a fluid situation where each time that I move, I have to check the position of the hogs and check the position of the cattle to make sure that I have a good shot angle or not, and then to move accordingly. At this point, the vast majority of the hogs have moved directly in front of the cattle from my shooting position, and that's not what I want because I have a large shooting angle that is not a safe field of fire. And then this knucklehead comes running out and headed in my direction. Again, another young boar, and look what he's bringing with him. Looks like some other adults. One of those is going to be a sow and a whole passel of piglets. And I still don't have a shot at this point. Fortunately, the winds are not such that they're blowing towards the hogs. They're not noticing that I'm here. I can see them with my naked eye at this point. That's no problem. So I'm standing there, standing still, and I'm thinking to myself, be a tree, be a tree. Don't let them notice you. Don't move too fast. And this little boar is getting closer and closer and closer. So he's now in a safe direction of fire. He goes down. I hit a sow twice. She's going to go down. I managed to hit a piglet there. I stopped firing because of the cattle in the background. All the piglets are in front of the cattle. There's no shot there. The sow has collapsed. Nothing has run off to the left that I have a shot opportunity for. I can't shoot the wounded piglet, and the rest of the piglets moved way off to the right where I take a shot. I don't know that I've connected. I don't waste any more ammunition on those because I don't think I've connected. Got another piglet there, and it takes off before I get steady on the rifle. Quality assurance shot for the sow. The boar isn't lifting his head, so he doesn't need a quality assurance shot. And I look over at that far shot that I took. I did, in fact, connect with the piglet. It does appear to be moving. I take a couple shots. I try to hit it again, and I realize it'd just be cheaper to drive over and shoot it with my pistol.
Brass Catcher by Tactical Brass Recovery.
I came away with a 160-pound boar and a 140-pound sow that was not pregnant, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 piglets that I estimate were about 4 pounds each, coming in at a whopping 28-pound total. However, I only shot 3 piglets in the video. Where did all the other piglets come from? Well, as I was getting set up to take my photographs of the 3 piglets and the 2 adults, I hear this sound, which is the echolocation sound of the piglets looking for their mother or looking for each other. And this group of piglets has come out, and they're within about 20 yards of me. I've got my headlamp on, I'm moving around, and the piglets are looking for Mama, who is obviously dead on the ground. I grab the rifle. I don't have time to get the video going, and I start shooting, and I drop piglets from approximately 20 to 75 yards, accounting for the last 4 piglets. As all this was going on, had lots of lightning in the area, so I decided to get the hell out of the Dodge, get off the top of the hill, and I called it a night. Carpe sus, my friend.